Forge is finally close to releasing in Halo Infinite, which means we'll have access to so many more maps that the community will make, and some new ones that 343 will be making using these tools. But in the meantime, I thought it'd be a pretty fun idea to make a tier list of all the current maps that are in the game and rank them based on what I think of them. If you do enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new here. I really do appreciate it, and it really does help the channel out. Let me know what your favourite Halo Infinite map is down in the comments, but without wasting any more of your time, let's jump straight in. So as we know, Halo Infinite released with 10 maps, these being Behemoth, Recharge, Aquarius, Deadlock, Fragmentation, High Power, Launch Site, Live Fire, Bazaar, and Streets, with 2 new additions that came in Season 2, being Breaker and Catalyst. 4 of these maps overall are Big Team Battle ones, with 8 being Arena ones, so it's a total of 12 maps. And as a whole, this is of course just my opinion, but I think Infinite's level design has definitely been weaker than most of the other entries. It does have some really good maps, and we'll get into that a little bit more later, but for the most part I do think the level design has been a bit weaker. We have 5 tiers here: S, A, B, C, and Dogwater. As you can imagine, Dogwater is the worst, and we're just going to start by putting Breaker in Dogwater. I've already explained why I dislike Breaker. I made a whole video on it, I've explained it in multiple streams. It's just a very bad big team battle map. It's okay for Last Spartan Standing, but Last Spartan Standing is already a bad mode, so I don't care. And as far as the other big team battle modes go, the best one to play on this map is probably Stockpile. I think Stockpile is actually decent on Breaker, and that's just because it ends quicker. It feels like it is definitely suited for that mode a little bit more, but as a whole, it's a terrible big team battle map. To go into sort of some quick reasoning, the lack of vehicle variety and the terrible weapon placements and stuff like that just makes it really unfun. Pushing with vehicles is pretty much pointless because every base, well, both bases spawn with dynamo grenades and sometimes also have shock rifles plus disruptors, so it's kind of pointless pushing on a vehicle because the second you get there you just get EMP'd. So there's definitely a lack of variety there, and overall the weapon spawns just aren't the best. It also kind of just promotes people camping. You have the repulsors that spawn right up the balcony, so people can just repulse you into the lava ravine in the center of the map, which, you know, is definitely cool the first couple of times it was pulled off, but has now reached a point where pretty much everyone does it, and it's not cool anymore, you're just annoying. But anyway, yeah, Breaker is a Dogwater map. Next up, we're going to rank Launch Site. I'm going to put Launch Site in B. I think it's a pretty fun map for one flag, which is usually what it's designed for, and it can also be pretty fun when it comes to Arena Fiesta because it has vehicles on there. Fiesta is always more enjoyable with vehicles. The only reason it's in B is because it really doesn't have that much in variety, and it definitely doesn't feel like a 4v4 map. It feels more so like it would be better for 6v6, maybe 8v8, but it's too big to be a 4v4 map. I find a lot of games, especially on Slayer, never actually end because one team reached 50 kills, but usually because time ran out. You'll usually get close, like maybe 46 to 32, but it's very rare that a team actually gets to 50 kills on this map on Slayer, so it can be a bit of a mixed one. But as a whole, it's not a terrible map. I think the design is fine. It honestly just feels a bit too big. Aquarius is going to go in A. I think this is a solid 4v4 map overall. It's pretty fun to play on. Some matches of Capture the Flag and other modes can be very intense. I don't think zone modes work on here. I think it's a bit too closed off for zone mode, so it just ends up being grenade spam. I know you can still get that on Slayer, but it's definitely much more noticeable on modes like Land Grab or King of the Hill. But Capture the Flag and Slayer are both pretty solid on here. Bazaar, again, similar to Aquarius, but I don't like Bazaar as much, so I'm going to put that in B. I think design-wise, you know, it's a pretty cool looking map. It was cool being in the streets of Mombasa again. It's just not the best map overall. I think, again, Capture the Flag is probably the best one for it. It can be very intense playing Capture the Flag on this map. But a lot of the other modes, I hate this map more so because of Fiesta. I don't hate the map, but I hate playing Fiesta on this map, and the Tenrai event really highlighted that. It could just be so stressful, but it is fun on some maps. Behemoth is going to go in S tier. I know that's probably going to be a very hot take. I know Behemoth is a very controversial map, and a lot of people don't really like it, but I think it's very fun. Again, it is just dependent on the modes. I don't mean that as in like Capture the Flag, but it is very clearly not suited for ranked or SWAT. On Tactical Slayer, this map is terrible, and that is also the case for ranked playlists. It's simply just not very good when your starting weapon is something with a bit more range. But when people are spawning with assault rifles, it tends to be fine. Yeah, there is ranged weapons in the map, but that isn't really an issue when there's a more limited quantity of them. As a whole, Behemoth is a very fun map. It's very good for casual playlists. Playing Purple Rain on the new Social Slayer playlist on this map is really fun. It is honestly the most fun I had in this game in a good while, so I do enjoy it for that. And it's just a very good casual map. Again, it can be fun on Fiesta because of the vehicle spawns, and as a whole, it's a good map. I honestly think it's a little bit underrated. It just tends to be disliked a little bit more for more competitive players that play those competitive playlists a little bit more, or people that play a lot of Tactical Slayer, because I will admit, it sucks on those modes. It is terrible. I'm glad it was taken out ranked. I can't remember if it's still in Tactical Slayer, but it's awful on there too. Livefire is also S tier when it comes to arena maps. It's honestly, I think, already established its place as a pretty iconic Halo map. It's this perfect introduction map for new players. I'm glad that it makes you play a match on there in the tutorial. Not that everyone would have played the tutorial, but it's such a good introduction map, and it's pretty decent for most modes too. Going back to a big team battle map, we're going to rank Deadlock in B tier. Deadlock, honestly, when the game came out, was probably my least favourite. I probably would have put that in dog water, but it's grown on me a little bit more, and again, you get some pretty intense matches. It definitely has problems. There is definitely a lack of cover, but I like the sort of trench theme that it's got going on. Like, you have the little trenches in the middle, which is cool. The bases do suck. I wish the bases were a little bit better, but as a whole, Deadlock isn't a terrible map. I just wish it played a little bit more into the banished theme, because as a whole, yeah, the bases are technically banished. The anti-aircraft cannon is also banished. I just don't feel like they did enough with it. I think it's also a massive missed opportunity not letting players enter the anti-aircraft cannon. That's really, in my opinion, where the rocket launcher spawn should have been. It would be quite fitting too. And just giving players that little extra area to fight in would have been pretty sweet. Next up, we got Catalyst. I honestly haven't played loads of Catalyst, so I don't really know where I want to rank it. I'm probably going to stick to an A tier, just because of like the aesthetic of it alone. It is such a gorgeous looking map. It's decent for some modes. Some zone-based ones can be pretty stressful. I hate whenever the zone spawns on the bridge on land grab, but Capture the Flag can be pretty fun on here. Slayer is fine, and some of the more casual modes as well are also decent, but Catalyst is mostly an A tier because it's a very nice map to look at. I should also clarify with Breaker, I do think Breaker is a very nice map visually. I think it's one of the coolest looking big team battle maps, but it just sucks. It's just not fun to play on. Recharge will also go in B. I'm going to put Recharge in B. It's a pretty solid map overall. I don't really have too much to complain about with it. I just don't think it's the most enjoyable. I think as a whole, it's not very cool visually. It does have some nice bits, but as a whole, it's not necessarily the best map, so it is going to go in B. Streets is going in dog water. I hate this map. I'm not going to clarify why I hate this map. You're all going to be mad at me because I know Streets is a very popular map, but I do not like Streets. I think it is terrible. Fragmentation is going in A tier. The loot caves are really cool, and this is clearly the spiritual successor to Valhalla, which is great. It's cool that we have that in the game, but it is way too narrow to be a big team battle map. It still has a lot of cool elements, it's just way too narrow, which is why it's only an A rather than S tier. Which leaves High Power. High Power is going in S tier. It is the best big team battle map in the game, and that is solely because of the Wasp spawn. It makes it feel like a big team battle map. Just having that extra vehicle spawn that is always guaranteed on both sides, it's a little bit more balanced. Yeah, there is definitely some unbalanced elements like the vehicle drops, but that's kind of an issue with all the big team battle maps except Breaker, but that's because Breaker is boring. But High Power is definitely the best one. It's the most enjoyable one to play on. Capture the Flag is better on Fragmentation, but as a whole I think High Power is the better map. And again, just having the Wasp as a native vehicle spawn just makes it feel like a big team battle just that little bit more, which I think the other big team battle maps are kind of lacking. Anyway, this is my tier list of the 12 Halo Infinite maps. Let me know where you would rank yours or which one your favourite is down in the comments. I'm very much looking forward to Forge and having access to way more maps. Some of those are going to be made by 343. The new arena maps that they've shown off look awesome. And maybe we'll revisit this idea at Season 3 or 4 when there's a few more maps to actually rank. But as a whole, this is my list right now. Maybe this will change in future. Maybe I'll dislike some more maps when some better ones come out, or maybe I'll appreciate a few of these a bit more. Who knows? But let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you all in the next one.